Okay.
Oops. Sorry. You
Hello.
want me to pause it?
No, here we are. I'm good.
Hello. Welcome, Angela. It's so awesome to have you. I am excited to talk to you about upcoming stuff. And I also forgot to tell you that we got one of the grants to do surveying, which is really
Excellent.
freaking cool. We can hire somebody to do surveying for 2 months part-time. Yeah. But anyway, that's my exciting news.
Wait. Can you share that again for 2 months?
Yeah, for 2 months part-time.
Okay.
But if we get the other grant, that grant will cover much longer, possibly a year worth of, yeah.
And we had talked briefly about maybe partnering a little bit in the area to do that outreach in the area and what that might look like.
Well, I think that's what our conversation is going to be about.
Okay.
But we
You're frozen.
should do our introductions
Oh,
first.
there you go. Should I go? You go.
Who are you? What do you do? Who are you with?
Angela Castañeda.
Okay,
Okay, you're going. Okay, good. Sorry. Whoops.
I am Carol Roshana Williams, and I am the founder / lead consultant for the BIPOC Sustainable Tiny Art House community. And we're doing some amazing things around equity and home ownership and business development. And so I've invited you here today, Angela, so that we can talk business, like all this amazing stuff you've been telling me about that is just happening within our surrounding community, and how we can partner would be really cool to talk about to you. Who are you? What do you do?
Angela Castañeda, born in Seattle, followed my school teacher mom around as in different neighborhoods of Seattle, depending on where she was teaching, and worked with families and youth, and in multimedia production and storytelling, story creation for a long time. And that kind of morphed into what I've been doing the last decade. And that's essentially similarly supporting some families and community, but thinking more about the economic driver of a community. And what does that look like, and how? So supporting the small business nodes in Beacon Hill, specifically as the director of Beacon Business Alliance. Really the different prongs are small business technical assistance, and space activation, placement, recruiting for space, safe and clean pedestrian access, street, eyes on the ground, eyes on the street. What does that look like? So beautification and, community projects to beautify the neighborhood. And then liaison and advocacy and accomplice work between community and city and government. So those resources, what are resources that are available? Are they being communicated and distributed equitably? What does equitable distribution mean? How do you change up that historically racist behavior and systemic kind of, what are the ways that you, instead of tearing it down and starting over because the roots are so freaking deep, how do you change the model and push? Where do you push to change the model? What does that look like? And so I've been doing that in the last, since COVID and the pivot with COVID, the focus has really turned to equitable, digital equity. So if we're serving small businesses, whether you're brick and mortar or independent artisan or gig worker, you have a business license and you are a business. And so how are you being resourced? How are you being supported during these difficult pandemic times? And and what is your dream, and where are you still moving towards your ideal, where you want to be with your business plan, and whether that's activating space or addressing barriers you're facing with your virtual presence. So to that end, we formed a coalition, a collective, sorry, we're a collective, Essential Southeast Seattle Collective, to serve, because we're all serving. There are 5 small community-based organizations, CBOs, 5 CBOs in the collective serving Beacon Hill to Rainier Beach. So lifting the Southeast Seattle voice, agency, lifting like a Southeast Seattle as an identity, and addressing strategies for anti-displacement strategies and hyper-local shopping behaviors, encouraging, movement in those areas. So www.essentialseseattle.com is the online platform that we all threw in to build, to hire DEI creative, woman-owned agency on Capitol Hill is building this platform for and taking it nationwide. And so we now have also an opportunity, not only with this website that's going, which is e-commerce ready, and offers an opportunity for every business owner, anybody who's got a license, whether you're brick and mortar or otherwise, an opportunity to also add that to your channel, your communication channels, so you can put yourself out there for free, no cost. And so that's a project we've been working on, and there's an opportunity also to take that, to get some visibility nationally with your product through the work we're doing with the iCreative, and their kind of scope is expanding with the different platforms they're creating across the nation.
Awesome. So,
yeah.
So is that's all going to be online?
It's all online now.
Awesome. Way to go. Congrats.
And then the Business Resource Open House is a series that's the other big piece. So the 3 things: Essential Southeast Seattle is the collective and the website, and then the webinar series or the meeting series that we're doing online to really talk about in a virtual space, try to create in a virtual space connectivity, networking, getting resources to business owners in that space. And
it'd be cool if you did that here at the house.
Oh yeah. Well, so we're looking at
one.
Totally. Let's do it. Let's say that's a done deal. One of the things we feedback, because we are serving, we have interpreters doing live in language translation, and we are live streaming those 6 language channels, so that then we can, in post-production, take some of the really brilliant conversations and communication about resources that are available, kind of cut those down into smaller videos, small clips, and make those available in the multiple languages, so that they're accessible.
Nice. I love that.
Those community activists, the trusted community navigators, there we go, that's the word, can have access to those too. Sometimes a visual is really helpful when you're working with different language groups. So yeah, we're talking about doing hybrid in 2022. Love to do one on location there at the play.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'd love to have you. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's totally do that. Well, and that actually leads me to, so which organization are you representing currently, the name of it? And then I'd like to talk a little bit about the surveying that we were having a conversation about, and just kind of pick your brain about that and what you guys are doing in that realm.
So I'll just lay out I'm affiliated as a director of Beacon Business Alliance, and then I'm consultant and doing work with Rainier Ave Business Coalition, which is a mix of Hillman City Business Association and Columbia City Business Association in an effort to reach more and those neighborhoods that are not being served by a community-based organization, Genesee to Brighton. And then the third one is Essential Southeast Seattle, as I mentioned. And then I'm also a Partners in Change as Equity and Education Coalition's cohort, and really pushing for equitable distribution, equitable, and it's not just about education, it's about community. And that's more of a policy level kind of effort. But in this conversation, I would be representing Rainier Ave Business Coalition because of the outreach we're talking about doing also and also have some funding to be able to do. And so how do we streamline that? Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really excited to hear about how to streamline that. What BIPOC Stack is trying to do is we're trying to survey Brighton neighborhood with possible resources just to find out who are the business owners here, who wants to keep their land in community, who is interested in selling, who's interested in possibly exploring alternative models with us, and business owners, So that's the main target group of our surveying. And it'd be really cool to be able to do on the ground surveying as well as like digital surveying online. Just for the reason that you just said, right? Because of language barriers and cultural barriers and social barriers and all kinds of barriers, it would be really nice to have like information about who wants to, all of these three questions so that we can better serve the community and find out exactly what do people want to see happen in this area,
Yeah. That totally aligns with the outreach that we were actively doing before COVID, and then have pivoted to phone calls, and we're coming back out there again and communicating directly person to person now again. And I know that for 2022, they're hopefully working also in conjunction and partnership. Hopefully we're looking for a partnership also with the MCC Multicultural Coalition to because I know that there's some outreach they want to do, and so just at least having a conversation about what that looks like, so we're not I know that Rashana, that you also mentioned the same concern, which is if you keep hitting up business owners to give you their time, then they start getting pissed off. It's like quit bugging us, or it's just really let's find a great way to do it so that it benefits everyone and doesn't impact the business owner too much.
So are you looking for specifically Brighton area, or I thought you said from
Genesee to
Rainier Beach to...
Well, so I was giving you the lay of the land around what the Essential Southeast Seattle Collective is like about. There are 5 organizations, and so Beacon Business Alliance, Mount Baker Hub Alliance, Rainier Ave Business Coalition, MLKBA Business Association, and Rainier Beach Merchants Association. So that's a different thing than what Rainier Ave Business Coalition is. One of those 5, but
what area are you guys looking
Rainier
at?
Ave Business Coalition is directly committed to serving Genesee to Brighton with Rainier Beach. So
Brighton included, right?
Yes, Genesee to the southern, the southern, whatever I can't remember the street, like the official, where's the border, but Brighton has yet to really get, there's a lot going on with Brighton under the radar. And right now I can tell you my direct relationship with Brighton is, now that Cafe Avol closed, like I've done some direct technical assistance to maybe 2 businesses in the Brighton area to date. And I'm not the only one on the team for Brighton for Rainer Ave Business Coalition, but Kate, we have Kate as well, and Jardé has come on just recently and this last year. So we have a couple of different initiatives going on. One of them is mental health and wellness, and we want to do some outreach with business owners around their impact from the homeless community, and what's because that's how do we, like, business owners are saying, well, how do we deal with this? What do we do? How do we manage some of the impacts from this growing homeless community in a humane way? Or some folks are saying, just call the cops, but that doesn't work right now in this community for so many reasons. So anyway, that's just one of the areas as far as the initiatives that we have on the table that will inspire us to do more outreach. What are those, right? So, and how do we blend in, and or maybe we are parallel or aligned in the questions we may be asking that will benefit both your effort, and maybe there are some questions that you would add to the list, because we do have resources and we will be working with interpreters. So how can we partner to really get a good input, what do you call it?
I love that. And
percentage.
I think that this could actually be a really great conversation with our programming person, especially towards the end of the year, when we find out more about our fiscal year next year. I think this is, I really think it could be really amazing to do this, even if we were even able to figure out how to supply folks to do that, you know what I mean, with your interpreters or via your interpreters, or maybe they're the ones doing, I don't know what that actually looks like, but I definitely think that there is some coalescence around the same strategies and the same themes, right? Yeah. So yeah, I love it. I love it. And I really feel like it's something that needs to happen because we've already written grants for it, obviously, but
have you written?
I'm excited. That's exciting.
Are you getting funding through OED?
No.
So yeah, this would be, we need to, I know that there are going to be a couple of meetings coming up that I need to have one more meeting, I think, before and I will take this with me into this conversation with me into that meeting. And then I think the next meeting would be with all of us. I just need to get, because we're getting funding through OED, and they're looking at all of their applicants who may be applying for funding to do similar work in the same area. Then how do we do that together so we're not duplicating work? That conversation needs to still happen.
Well, and I also think that there are other people that may need to be a part of that conversation, like Caleb from Cord, right? Because he's also trying to do the same thing, get the same kind of thing. Well, that's what I'm saying. I feel like maybe the next step is more so you and I figuring out, or connecting all of us in one group meeting where we all have this conversation, because I do feel like those services are being duplicated.
So what I'm going to do is just make this note right now so that I have so that I can pull up my talking points when the meeting that I have, because the meeting that I have coming up, and I have to send out a Zune about, which is going to be early next week, which is hey, OED, there are more than just one group here, right? Just exactly what you just said. And I just need to make sure that information is put in their minds so that they understand,
Yeah.
yeah, that they need to also be, maybe they also need to be at this table because there may be more funds
Yeah. So
available
that might
that they would bring to the table to do this.
do you have the contact for that person that would be able to be at this meeting for OCD or OED or whatever it is?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is I'm going to have a meeting early next week to solidify some of the things that are on their mind. I can't throw them into this yet. I have one more step to broach, to say, look.
No, I get that. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, you said, is there a contact? Is there a contact at OCD, OED, or I don't know the acronym you said, but
the contact
is
that I'm
there a
working with,
contact?
Heidi,
Okay, that's all I was
Heidi
asking.
Hall is the person that I'm working with.
Okay.
To talk through this through. And there are more people at the table about this outreach stuff that need to be balanced. You know, the board here and the steering committee there and the this and that. And so, but the intention.
Well, I have the same thing on my end too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I have the same thing on my end too. Yeah.
Sure. And so I could imagine, by Wednesday, I know it's Thanksgiving, whatever, but I can imagine that really soon we could pull the, you know, Cord. Wait, tell me his name again from Cord.
Caleb, I think his name is.
Caleb. And then.
And Curtis too, because Curtis knows what Caleb, he knows it more
Curtis Brown.
in depth than I do. Yeah, anyway. Yeah.
I mean, my thing is I know that there's certain funding that's available to do certain things that it's like all of a sudden it could get too complicated, but I feel like everybody does need to be at this freaking table.
Yeah.
So I agree.
Well, let's move on. So the
Okay.
second half of this conversation, we wanted to talk about business alliances or business pods, kind of sort of. That wasn't the word that you use. Incubator is the word that you use.
Yes.
Not business pods. Yes. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, I mean, that's just one of the things that that we put into our OED funding for 2022, 2023, in the need for Beacon Business Alliance lost its office space. So we have been looking for that. But then I've also really, for the last 4 years, I've been talking about a BIPOC-led co-op workspace similar to what the collaboratory was doing. And of course, COVID changed that all up for everybody. And but the incubator project is going to be centered on Beacon Hill because it's married to the funding we got from OED and as a new location for our headquarters. So the idea for that is universal, but the location is specific to Beacon Hill because of all these factors. The idea, though, is exciting and is in process, is formulating, but really there's only 750 square feet. I don't even know if we have it yet. I have a meeting Monday about that, whether or not with the developer. So we'll see, wish me luck. But that's like 750 square feet is a little bit more than what we had in our office at the library. So I know what we did there. And we had 5 different groups utilizing that space, activating that space in the evenings on with a master calendar, and everybody worked together and collaborate, okay. But that, that was Sustainable Seattle, Friends of Lewis Park, and Beacon Food Forest, and then the groups that are doing environmental justice work were in there, and then Beacon Arts was in there a little bit, had storage stuff in there, and then BBA was in there during the day. So Beacon Business Alliance was daytime office hours, and then the evening was utilized from 4 to 8 p.m. So I know what that structure was, ran that for a while, and easy to do that. That's more of that's not the incubator piece. That's more of a shared co-work type environment. And that's going to be a little bit about what's going on, but the main piece is the 250 square feet of that full space is facing the windows, is going to be staging 2 to 3 small businesses for a period of time. Maybe it's a year. I don't know yet. I haven't worked that out. So that means staging their retail and activating the exterior space as well, building out a covered space on the outside so that there can be also retail vendoring staged there, utilizing the adjacent public and spaces, the Centro de la Raza Plaza is there, Festival Street, so that we do pop-ups, and we'll just be right. That would just be a beautiful location. Now I'm a little ahead of myself. We don't have it. We don't have a lease. But this is, no matter where it happens, we're looking to do that in a space. And I feel like the model, even at this early stage, is, we could come up with a lot of different examples of how WeWork started, or, some of them have failed or not continued. I don't know if it's failing or just not continuing, like Downtown's hub, the Pioneer Square hub. That was, I don't even know the backstory of why they closed, but that was a huge space. And, we're just talking about doing a little incubator within the capacity that we have. You're on mute.
Sorry. Can you say what's in the incubator? Can you give us examples of these businesses or what they're doing, or what you would what would
Sure.
be a pop-up?
Sure. So this is all hypothetical until we actually have a lease and we're actually moving forward. But in the proposal for funding, I described the first 2 to 3 businesses at a time would be able to stage their product. And meanwhile, we're able to provide support for business plan development, financials, pulling together the financials so that they would then transition to their own space. So that's the program. Nice. The program is really, set up to help on the back end for that business to understand how to make it work in this environment. What does Seattle require for you to be able to run a business? What are the trip up? How can you get tripped up in making in working with the city and making sure things go smoothly, and all the regulations and permits, and then market research. Who are you serving? A lot of, really, it's about doing the warm handoff to that agency that maybe we can subsidize that agency's support to that business to do stuff we're not doing, and utilizing all the resources that are here in Seattle already. Like the Seattle Public Library has these wonderful free program of virtual trainings and sessions. And so then we're partnering with the Seattle Public Libraries. We'll do some trainings, some stuff happening in more of those, like we just did this last Wednesday night. We did a pop-up from 4 to 7. We did have OED, SPD, Seattle Public Utilities, and then also the broadband digital equity people from the city, Dave Keys, talking about the programs that are out there right now that are underused, these programs are underseen, let's say. And so how do you communicate to community that these things are there for you? And how do you build the bridge? Maybe there's no trust with government, or trust that that's a real thing, or trust that those resources are really for me. Are they really for me? Oh, I just won't apply. So this is, anyway, some of the work that we do.
We would love to have pop-ups here too. That would be cool. I know we're not in Beacon Hill, but you know.
Oh yeah, but this is like modeling, modeling the funding that we got to do 2022 mental health and wellness pop-ups. We have funding to do one on Beacon Hill that then will be replicated further south. So Rainier Ave Business Coalition wants to do pop-ups. So the motto would be, we kind of work through some of the relationships of who's doing what for this pop-up, like Children's Hospital, Seattle Children's Hospital said, yes, we're doing those free vaccine pop-ups, will come and be part of all your pop-ups. Sure, just so building those relations, who's going to be there, reach, we're going to do art therapy activities. What are the pieces to that pop-up? What does that look like? So we're going to work that through. Then we're going to bring it into Rainier Ave Business Coalition neck of the woods as well. Hopefully there will be some budget there to help with that. It all comes down to some of the hiring that Beacon Business Alliance wants to do, with some funding also from the Rainier Ave Business Coalition, to hire a person who is going to help with the outreach and be like the outreach project manager or outreach coordinator and it's not just BBA, hired through BBA, but some of the funding, because we're also contracting with Rainier Ave Business Coalition, some of the funding is so it's kind of it's a role that's been created to do these 4 things, engage with the Rainier Ave Coalition team on homelessness supports and outreach, to oversee oversee the pop-ups, some of these things, and then do direct outreach to businesses. So you're on mute again. So partnering means some of the things we're doing with this new hire that we'll be able to do with the new hire is kind of streamline some of those specific tasks. We've been piloting that by hiring somebody. We hired Vanessa Villalobos, who's in a role of the digital access coordinator for Essential Southeast Seattle, which she's hired through BBA with a Comcast grant for 2021. And then with the Essential Southeast Collective is all going to keep her job going. And that job is as a sort of a case manager for any of the small businesses that any one of us from Beacon Hill to Rainier Beach has identified, any business that is coming through a process of understanding that they need some support to be visible in the digital world, and whatever support they need to do that, to get them set up on the website. So the point being, her role is Beacon Hill to Rainier Beach. Now, how does a part-time job do that? That's crazy. You'd think that, that should be a full-time job. Well, I would love that to transition to a full-time job soon we show the proof of the need and get the funding. So this is the beginning stages of that. And then there are other groups doing similar work. And so maybe we should just be supporting their person, or, RBAC is doing some amazing work in the Valley, and we're just beginning to talk and connect and make connections there. So who knows how it will evolve.
Yeah, I think we should definitely stay in touch for sure. Those are pretty much all my questions.
I would, one of, You're
we
frozen.
could probably end the video if you don't have, if there aren't any other things you want to add.
Sure, I would just say one more thing about, because right this minute, I've got a resume on my desk of someone who I'd like to hire to do that outreach. And, you know, of the different groups, the different cultural communities that she would be engaging with, you know, that it's important for you and I think, and MCC or whoever it is that we're going to be partnering with, to also feel like they're part of that and feel like this is the right person. You know, this is a person that can wrap around. So I'm sort of, it's like chicken or the egg, or whatever analogy to use around, I need to do, I have the funding to hire this person to do these 4 things. And I really get a good gut vibe of the resume's good. This is a person I'm connected to now and feel good about, but she hasn't met everybody else, or everybody else hasn't met her. So hopefully, as all I'm saying is the mix of who's at the table, until you really get around the table, you know, and build that trust within the groups that are doing this. You can't know. So I have high hope that that this will move forward in a beautiful way. Like, for instance, and let me just say, I just don't even know enough culturally, because we have within the African diaspora, the business owners within Southeast Seattle, you know, the Somali business owners and the Ethiopian, you know, like, I don't know the nuances of relationship development there.
I don't think that is what, I don't think we need to like really stress about that. I don't think we need to stress, you're stressing over stuff that is like, I have done so much community development. It doesn't matter. It matters if you speak the language, if you understand that piece of it. And we have so many people in our network. I'm not even worried about that. I'm more worried about how can we put all of this information in one place together. People are people. You know, it doesn't matter what culture you come from. People are people, and people want to see positive things happen in their community. And I think you're stressed about the wrong thing. I'm sorry. I really do. I think that, you know, me as a Black person, me knowing Black people knowing African people, I mean, I know Latino people, Asian people, you name it, Seattle's got it. It's everywhere. Need to have access to interpreters and understanding what is our parameter, where is our boundary, where are we going to cut off, and all of that stuff. I'm not worried about any all of that. I'm just curious to find out, like, if we have alignment, if our mission is the same in terms of what type of outreach we want to do, what information we're gathering, and who we're outreaching to. You know, for me, that is the most important part, because either way it's going to happen, whether it's going to happen this year, next year, or the year after that. That's one of our goals, is to find out what the community wants. So I'm not stressed about like who's in the community, who ain't in the community, where do I, you know, I mean, like, that is a concern. I want to know people's backgrounds, but I think that should not be a point at which we're stressed in collaborating, right? I just
thankfully everything you just said, Carol, everything you just said is the word. And the stress that I just don't want you to make too big a deal out of, because I'm not, the things that I'm trying to be conscious of doesn't mean that I'm not ready to jump on I'm here, right? And you just gave me the reinforced this kind of forward movement. I let it go. Boom.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Well, and I think one thing that's really interesting, like, I was just having a conversation with somebody yesterday about like high school, and she was describing to me like you know, what kind of kid she was in high school, and you know, da, da, da. And I said, the first thing that came out of my mouth was, you know, I was in high school that had rockers, it had Black folks, it had Latinos, Indigenous, like it was like a very interesting high school. It was very multi everything. Not to mention, I grew up on a military base with lots of different types of folks. And specifically in Seattle, I think that we have access to each other's cultures in a lot of ways that you would not traditionally or normally have in other parts of the country. And so for me, I mean, there are so many people in the city that I either know or they know or have access, and like, you know, I have a foot in a lot of communities. And so I just don't want you to get too stressed about, well, will we have access to the Ethiopian community or Somali? Heck yeah, we do. I know people who work in those communities, people who are doing these things in those communities, right? All we have to do is reach out. I'm willing to go door to door, and I don't care if you speak a foreign language. I pull out my phone like I did in Spain and speak Spanish over my phone with you. You know what I mean? Like, I think that
You and
we
I are on
can
the
find
same page about
resources
that.
and then the things that we need. Yeah. So that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to make that clear. But and thank you for giving that last point. Now we're both on the same page with that part. That's awesome. But that's pretty much the end of my interview.